The Nitrogen Cycle by Kate O'Donnell. The nitrogen cycle describes how nitrogen moves through the environment. Nitrogen is an element found in the amino acids and DNA of all living things. Plants also use nitrogen to make chlorophyll, a chemical they use during photosynthesis. Nitrogen gas makes up about 80% of Earth's atmosphere, but plants and animals can't use nitrogen gas in their bodies. Luckily, bacteria found in the soil and water can convert nitrogen gas into forms of nitrogen plants can use. Some of the bacteria are free-floating, but others have a symbiotic relationship with plants and live in their roots. The first step in the nitrogen cycle is called nitrogen fixation. Bacteria convert nitrogen gas into ammonia. Plants can use the nitrogen from ammonia. In the second step of the nitrogen cycle, different bacteria convert the ammonia into nitrates. This step is called nitrification. Plants can also use the nitrogen from nitrates. The third step of the nitrogen cycle is called nitrogen assimilation. During nitrogen assimilation, plants take the nitrogen and use it to make amino acids, DNA, and chlorophyll. Then, animals eat the plants and use the nitrogen in their own bodies. When an organism dies, the nitrogen in its body is released back into the soil. This fourth step of the nitrogen cycle is called ammonification. Plants absorb some of the nitrogen from the soil, and the rest of the nitrogen is converted back into nitrogen gas by bacteria during the fifth step of the nitrogen cycle called denitrification. The nitrogen cycle happens both on land and in water. In the water, bacteria fix dissolved nitrogen gas during the nitrogen fixation step. In water, compounds containing nitrogen can float to the lake floor or ocean floor. These compounds become part of sediments. Over millions of years, the sediments become sedimentary rock. When the sedimentary rock is broken down through weathering and erosion, the nitrogen from the sediments is released into the soil for plants to absorb. Nitrogen is a limiting factor because plant growth is based on the amount of nitrogen it can get. Farmers use fertilizer with nitrogen to help their crops grow larger. Adding nitrogen to the soil puts more nitrogen gas into the atmosphere. Too much nitrogen in the atmosphere can cause acid rain and traps heat. Nitrogen from farms can also run into rivers and streams, where it causes algae to grow too much and take over the resources in the water so that the animals living in it die. This process is called eutrophication. The energy from lightning or ultraviolet radiation can also fix nitrogen. However, this process only accounts for about 10% of the nitrogen fixation on Earth. The end.